Welcome to the Cal State East Bay application presentation. My name is Kumar Krishnan, and I'll be covering the how to create your account, extended profile, and selecting your program.
Hey everyone, I'm Jamie Robbins, and today I'll be going over the first quadrant of the application, which is your personal information.
Hello, my name is Lena, and I'll be going over the second quadrant, which is your academic history.
Welcome everyone. My name is Mark Strong. Today I will cover supporting information and the Educational Opportunity Program.
Hi there, my name is Carmen Crum, and I will be covering the Educational Opportunity Program.
Hi, everybody. My name is Louise Martinez, and I'll be covering the last quadrant, program materials.
In this portion of the Cal State Apply workshop, I will go over how to create your account, your extended profile, and selecting your program. Before you begin, please navigate to www.calstate.edu/apply. Once you are there, you will see this landing page. Once you scroll down, you will see a drop-down menu and apply. You will select Fall 2022 and then hit the apply button. Once this is done, you will come to this page. If you have already created an account, all you will need is your username and password to log in. If you do not remember your username and password, you can recover them through the link at the bottom of the Create Your Account tab. Follow the necessary steps to recover. If you have not created your account, you will click on the Create Your Account tab, and you will be navigated to this page. From this page, the most important pieces of information is making sure that your first and last name is entered as it appears on your federal or state ID. Also entering a personal email that you will have access to. Do not use your high school or community college email. Occasionally, those emails are deactivated once a student graduates. Also enter in at least a mobile phone number so that you can get text and phone. Make sure to accept the text and phone authorization. And from this, each campus can send you a text or a phone call if there is something missing. Moving on, for students in your extended profile, it's very important that you select your first-time bachelor's degree student. You are going to select the first option, graduating high school senior or equivalent. On the third question, if you took college classes, on the third part of the first question, if you took college classes, make sure you enter yes. If you did not, you can leave it at no. The reason you want to do this is you are going to enter in all your college courses so that you can get credit for those college courses once you get to Cal State East Bay. For my high school students, you are not going to be returning students, so please make sure you say no. Military status, answer the question that best fits your situation. If you're an international applicant, please pick that. And if you are F1 or J1 visa, you can select yes. If you are not familiar with those, you're more than likely a domestic student. Once you've entered in all this information, you're going to click Save Changes. For my junior college students coming from a community college, this is the same section as the previous. If you are a pure transfer student, you are going to click the first option in question 1, first bachelor's degree, and the third option in the second part of question 1, transferring from a community college or a 4-year institution. And then once you click that, they're going to see another option. It's going to say 0 to 59 semester units or 60 plus semester units. Please select the one that best fits your situation. If you're a lower division transfer, select 0 to 59. If you're an upper division transfer, make sure that you are selecting 60 plus units. If you are a returning student, please select yes. The application does change if you are a returning student. Now, if you are a transfer student with an ADT, you're going to look on the right side. You're going to click again in question 1, pick the first option. In the second part of question 1, you're going to pick the middle option. Once you pick that middle option, there's a more drop-down menu will pop up. You're going to pick your college, community college you attended, and the ADT program you're doing. And then make sure to answer the last question if you will receive your ADT from your community college or not. Once you have done this, you're going to click the Save Changes, and you will see this page, which means you have completed your setup of your account, and you're going to move on to selecting your program. How you select your program, you can either do it by your college or by major, and you can filter through it. For every college you apply to, there will be a $70 fee. So although it is one application for all 23 campuses, every campus you select will have a $70 charge for its application. So if you're going to be selecting nursing from several different colleges, make sure that you understand that there will be an associated cost. And all you do is you're going to click on the plus sign to add the majors. That is on the left-hand side. Once you click that, it'll add into your queue. And again, you can pick as many programs as you want from each college. Unless a college is impacted, they won't let you select a secondary major. Once you click continue, you are going to come to this screen. And again, you see the total fees up there. It says $70. Once you get to this scene, you're going to click on the continue to application, and you are going to see this screen, and you're ready to begin your application. And you have already created your account completely. Next, you'll be moving on to your personal information.
Now that you have completed your extended profile and have selected at least one major or academic program, you'll be brought to the application dashboard where you can see the 4 quadrants. So I'll be covering the first quadrant, which is the personal information section. So this is going to go over details such as your biographical information, like your date of birth, contact info, residency, and of course, financial questions to determine if you get the fee waiver. It is important to answer these questions in the personal information section as accurately as possible. After you submit the application for admission, you're unable to go in and make changes to this on the application. So that's why it's important to answer it accurately the first time. Here are the 7 sections that make up the personal information quadrant. I will be going over 4, as you can see highlighted there. These are the areas that we get the most questions or students answer incorrectly. So I will be going over those 4 sections in more detail. The biographic information, contact information, and race and ethnicity questions are pretty straightforward. So I will cover the other 4 sections. So the release statement. You'll notice on this page that you are required to check that first box and indicate that you have read the release statement. It's pretty much confirming that you are submitting all accurate information about yourself. The second 2 questions on this page, they're not required, they're optional. The first one's going to ask if the CSU has the right to contact you, which is an important one, so you probably want to acknowledge that and check that box. The second one is going to be whether or not we are allowed to share information with your counselor. So whether that be your high school counselor or your community college counselor. So if you're comfortable with that, I would also recommend checking that box as well. Moving on to the citizenship or residency questions. Most of you might indicate that you are a U.S. citizen. However, we also have AB 540 students, also known as undocumented students. So if you are an AB 540 student, I want to make sure to tell you that for citizenship status, you will mark none, okay? So this is for AB 540 students. So if you indicate none, we will also ask the country of your citizenship. And then we will also ask the year you moved to the US if you were born outside of the US, okay? Now, for US citizens, if you mark that, that's the only question that you have to answer on the top. So if you're a US citizen, that will be the only one that you have to answer there. Now moving down to residency. The first question where it's going to ask, do you regard this state as your permanent home? This state is going to auto-populate from what you filled out in the extended profile section that Kumar covered. So we had a question in there of California residency. So if you indicated that in your extended profile, that will auto-populate here. The second question is, so do you claim California residency? It is important to let AB 540 students know, and regardless of your citizenship status, you want to indicate yes, that you claim California residency if it's any applicant that resides in California right now. So regardless of citizenship status, you want to indicate yes to California residency if you reside in California, okay? It will follow with the question, if you have continuously lived in California, which is okay if not. If you indicate no, it's going to ask for the year you moved to California. So it's okay if you have not lived here continuously. They just want to know when you have. So these questions are important because if you answer something incorrectly in this section, it could affect your residency status with us, which also affects your tuition, right? Because we have California state tuition and then out-of-state tuition. So of course, if you have any questions about this, you always reach out to your counselor or you reach out to one of us, and we're happy to help any questions for you. Moving on to the section that's titled Other Information. We do now require any student or applicant who has a social security number to provide that information in that red box right there. So if you indicate that you have a US social security number, we will require it to continue the application. You are not required to have a social security number to continue with us. So if you indicate no, that you do not have one, then we will not require you to include one. So that is perfectly fine. The second question about the statewide student ID. Now, any high school student that's attended a public K-12 school in the state of California, you are assigned a 10-digit ID, which is known as the statewide student ID. High school students can find this on their transcript. So if you're able to ask your counselor, or if you do have an unofficial copy, you should be able to see that 10-digit number. We really, really urge incoming freshmen. So if you are a first-time freshman with us coming out of high school, it's really important to include this 10-digit number on here. Now, if you are a transfer student, notice that there is no red asterisk next to this question, so you can skip it for transfer students. But students coming out of high school, important to try to locate that 10-digit number and include that right here in this section. Transfer students, you are not required to. Moving on to the last section of the personal information quadrant. This is the one that we also get a lot of questions about. So these are questions that are going to determine whether you get the fee waiver or not. So we are either going to ask if you're a dependent or independent. How we determine that is if none of the above statements apply to you, that means you are a dependent, and that means that we will require parental or guardian financial information. If one or more of the above statements apply to you, you're going to be processed as an independent, and we will ask for your personal finances or your financial information, not your parents. So questions, as you can see above, the first one's about if you were born before a certain date. That's trying to determine if you are 24 years or older. So if any of those questions apply to you, so the first one is if you're 24 years or older, if you're currently active in the military, are you married? Do you have any dependents or children? So if any of these questions apply to you, you will make sure that you indicate one or more of these apply to me, okay? Just to make sure that we're asking for the correct information, because that will impact what we ask you below. So if you answer that none of the above statements apply to you, this is what you are going to see. It is going to ask your household size. If you are not sure, your parents are not sure what that means, you can actually click on the highlighted here button and it will explain to you who you will include in your household size. Then we go down to the income information. It is going to ask for your parents' adjusted gross income from 2019. So you'll want to try to get that as accurate as possible and get your parents' financial information. The second below question is asking for untaxed income. So this is a mistake that we have a lot of our students make. They think that they need to include their income twice or their parents' income twice. You do not want to write the annual income up here and down there. If your parents don't have any untaxed income, make sure you put 0. So examples of untaxed income can be special like disability benefits or something like workman's compensation. So ask your parents, make sure they put a 0 if they do not have any untaxed income. If you answered that one or more of the above statements apply to you, or you're also an independent, this is what you will see. We are going to ask for your household size and how many dependents you have, but we are only going to ask for your income. And then once again, so this is what you're going to see if you identified yourself as an independent because one or more of the above statements apply to you. Now, once again, I'm going to reiterate the last question. If you did not have any untaxed income in 2019, make sure you put 0 here. Do not put your annual income twice. You don't want to put $55,000 down there. So make sure you put 0 for that. And remember, these questions help determine the Cal State system if you're eligible for a fee waiver, and that is predetermined by these questions. The last questions that you will see on the financial and parental information section is going to be a question about housing, whether you're interested in on-campus housing. So we just want to know whether to send you some contact information or more information about housing. And then regardless if you are an independent or a dependent, so regardless if we ask for your parents' income or your income, we're going to ask for your parent or guardian's highest level of education. So we do get that question a lot from our independent students. Yes, we still want to know your parent or guardian's highest level of education. So that is the last question. So once you answer that financial information, that sums up the personal information quadrant. So you're done with the first quadrant. You can either choose to go back to the dashboard, which will show all 4 quadrants, or you can continue on to the next section, which is going to be your academic history. Remember that once you have submitted your application, that residency information, all that, you can't go back into the application and change it. So make sure you are second checking and double checking and confirming that personal information is correct and accurate. So if you do decide to continue to the next section, you will be continuing on to the academic history portion.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lena Corn-Clark. I'm the Welcome Center Advisor here at Cal State East Bay, and I'm here to help walk you through the academic history quadrant in your application. I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can kind of walk through alongside on your application. So when you first log in and fill out your profile information, after that, this is what it'll look like. You'll notice that there are 4 quadrants, and we're going to go through this one right here, the academic history. You'll see that one of my 6 sections is filled in, and that's because I've been fiddling around in the application beforehand. Yours will look more like this quadrant when you first log in. So let's go step by step through every section. So you'll see it's broken up into little sections. If you have an ADT, sometimes there's an extra section here. It really, the application is adaptive, and we'll be going over ADT later. So let's go ahead and get started on just a straightforward transfer application. So we'll click high schools attended. Now, I know some of you may say, oh my gosh, I haven't been to high school in a minute. Me neither. It's okay. Try to do your best to remember your dates. It's not going to affect your application. So let's go here and add a high school. So you can add in a homeschool, you can add in high school, searching by state. I'm going to choose to search by our city where East Bay is located, which is Hayward, California. It'll list a bunch of different schools. I'm going to choose Mount Eden High School. And then I'm just going to estimate on my dates because it's been so long that I don't remember. But I did start in probably August or September of 2000. And then I graduated in 2004. I can't remember if it was May or June, but it doesn't really have that much of an impact. So I'm going to say June. Now, remember here that these are going to be specific to you and your experience. And if you have attended multiple high schools, you'll get to add multiple high schools. So no stress here. Now, the term type is what term that your high school used. So you can kind of estimate this if you're not 100% sure, but you can also call and ask your school or Google it. And if your school switched terms in the middle of you attending, you'll need to enter that school more than once. So one for each term type. So my school was semester, and I'm going to save this. Here you see I can edit my school. I can also delete my school. I can add another high school. For the purposes of this example, I'm just going to say that I only attended Mount Eden. And the next section is asking about graduation. So have you gotten your high school graduation or high school diploma? Have you gotten a GED, or do you not have a GED or high school diploma? And so for me, I graduated with my high school diploma. I'm going to select this. And then it'll say, where did I receive my high school? Now, if you went to different high schools, it'll have all the lists here. You just choose the one that you specifically graduated from. So I'm going to choose Mount Eden. And then again, I'm estimating on this date because it was so long ago. So I'm going to choose June 2004 as my when I received it. And I'll go ahead and save and continue. So you'll sometimes get these little pop-ups that have this little kind of like a, ooh, stop right here kind of notification. Some of these are just double checking, so there's no need to be worried. And this one particularly just says, is this correct? So they're just double checking that you entered the correct date. I'm going to say, yeah, it's pretty correct. Now, when you've completed a section, you'll notice that over here, a little green check mark appeared. And then also you'll get this was saved successfully. And let's continue to the next section. If you want to go out to your main application that shows the 4 quadrants, you'll choose go to dashboard. For the purposes of this, we're moving on. Next section. So this is the one that was kind of pre-filled in for me because I was already filling around in this application. It's academic information. Most of our students did not attend outside the United States. And so if you did, no worries, just go ahead and choose yes. And then if you have any questions about that section, feel free to follow up with international admissions. They can be reached at csueastbay.edu/IAO. So for our purposes, I did not, so I'm going to say no, and we're going to save and continue. Yay, save successfully. On to next section. All right, so colleges attended. When you get started in this part, you want to make sure that you have your unofficial transcripts in front of you from every single college you attended, as well as any scores that you might be using, like an AP score. So I'm going to go ahead and add a college, and we're going to say that I went to Chabot College right here. Excellent. And did I obtain, or was I planning to obtain, a degree from this college before I attend East Bay? So if you're planning to graduate with an AA or something like that before you attend East Bay, that's what you're going to click here. Now, if you're a returning student, you're going to go through this section as well. When you put in returning to East Bay here, you are going to select no, because you haven't earned a degree before you're attending again. That's what it's really asking. I know the question could be a little vague, but it's asking before the term that you're planning to come back in to East Bay, did you obtain a degree? So we're going to say no. If you select yes, well, I'll walk you through this actually, just kidding. So let's select yes and say that I earned an AA. So I'm going to say that either my degree's in progress or degree awarded, depending on your situation. We're going to say degree awarded since I graduated a little while ago. And here we're going to say what kind of degree we earned. So I earned an Associates of Arts. What month? May, June. Obviously, that's dependent on your situation. And we're going to say that I earned that a couple years ago. So we're going to say, because I was in junior college from 2004 to 2006, I'm going to say that I earned it in 2006. And my major. So you can go through and pick whichever one you want. I got mine in botany. I didn't have a minor and I was not a double major. So you can do any of these things in order to add an extra degree. Now we're going to go down here. What type of terms does this college use? Mine used semester. So we'll click that. And then was I a resident of California or a non-resident? I definitely was, and I paid in-state tuition. And then it'll ask you when you attended the school. So I attended it from fall, which probably started in August of 2004. 2004. And then I graduated in the spring, or I did with my AS degree in May or June. I said June. We'll go with June of 2006. Okay, excellent. If you're still attending when you're applying, so if you're applying for fall 2022 and you don't graduate until spring 2022, you just click this little box right here. Okay, let's go ahead and save. Excellent. Now you didn't get a pop-up that said, let's go to next section, because you can still edit this page. So I can still add in more colleges if I attended multiple colleges. For my purpose, I'm going to say I only attended Chabot. And that way we can move forward. But you'll notice that a little green check mark popped up here. So I did complete something on this section and I am able to move on. College coursework. This is the section is the most busy and takes the most time, I would say, out of the entire application. So you definitely want those unofficial transcripts with you. I also want to plug the Welcome Center here. If you are stuck at all, there's multiple ways to get help. So one is that you can click this Applicant Help Center down here, the link right there. You can also click this question mark up in the corner, or you can reach out to the Welcome Center on your campus. So ours can be reached at csueastbay.edu/visit. You can also call us at 510-885-2556. Okay, let's dive right in. If you are a returning student who's returning to Cal State East Bay that you attended before and you did not take any units outside of your East Bay units, you can click I'm not adding any college transcripts. For everyone else, we're going to go ahead and enter in those college transcripts. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to add a semester. The first semester I attended was that fall semester. So I'm going to select fall and I'm going to select 2004. That was my first term. And my academic status, I'm going to go down and choose freshman. Now this is asking how many units. So if you have less than 30 units, they were freshman units. That was your academic status, was freshman. If you have 30 to 59 units, you're considered a sophomore. If you have 59 units up to, well, it's 60 units, 60 units up to the next, you're a junior, and so on and so forth. So for the most part, when you're at community college, typically you're in the freshman, sophomore range. I do want to be really clear that this doesn't super impact your application for East Bay as long as you're choosing non-graduate and non-postgraduate units. So when I first started, I was definitely freshman and my completion status is completed. Now, when you get to those units that you're going to be planning to take in spring 2022, you're going to put in progress or planned. And that's because you don't have a letter grade for it yet, right? You're still working on it or it's going to be completed in the future. For these OG units that we're going to click completed. I can save here and then I can leave the application if I want and come back and edit it. You can do that at multiple points. However, I'm going to go ahead and dive right into the courses. So I'm going to say add a course. Now I'm going to put in my speech class. So I took, or actually, no, let's put in my English class. I took English 1A. So as I start typing, you'll notice that classes pop up. You want to make sure that you're using the correct course code that's on your transcript. So English 1A. And when you select that, it'll fill in credits for you. So it'll fill in your course title and your credits and if it's transferable. So the subject and the grade is what you're responsible for after you select one from the drop-down menu. So this is an English class. Typically the subject is the first 3 or 4 letters of your course code. So it's an English class. And if you're stuck and not sure 100% which subject, it's okay to estimate, or you can also call us at the Welcome Center if you'd like. So you'll notice that it also put in the credits. So pretend there's a little period in between here. It's a 3.00 or a 3-unit class. If you have to hand type in a class, say it doesn't show up in the course code dropdown, make sure that you're putting in units in this box. And then if any partial units over here. So if there's a 0.5 class, you'll put a 0 here and then a 0.5 over here. And then the grade that you got. So I got a B, put that in. Now, in order to update your transfer GPA, the CAS grade, and in order to find the save button, you have to click off into the white space. So you'll notice this updated and the save button illuminated. That's when you can click save. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pause recording so I can add in a couple more classes so that we can get to the next stage. So I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, so I've added in a couple of my Golden 4 classes, which are my transfer courses. And I'm going to show you kind of what my application looks like. So you can see I've added in a couple different ones. I've added in my grades. They're all marked as transferable. Now I'm going to pretend that I've taken an AP class for calculus that I'm going to use to meet my B4 requirement. That's the math above intermediate algebra requirement. Now you do have to enter that course into your transcript. And the reason is because when you get to the general ed section here at the end, it will populate if you show it there. So we're going to go ahead and enter it in. So what I'm going to say is AP test. So I'm not using the drop-down menu, and then it's going to be calc. So it's going to show exactly what it says on your test scores. So AP calc, if you took like BC, you're going to type that in exactly as it shows up. Okay. And then under subject, you're going to go all the way down to the bottom, and it is under test credit, no subject. And then the credits here, so typically they're worth like 3 units, 4 units, stuff like that. We're going to put in 3 units since that's usually typically somewhere around there, the minimum that you get with an AP score. And when you send your official transcripts in and you send your official AP scores in, any minimal errors here will be corrected. And then we're going to put in our grade. Now we're going to put in for a grade, just a passing grade. And that way it shows up in the general education section. So I'm going to put a P for passing. And then I clicked off in the white space and you'll see that it shows up here, but I didn't mark transferable yet. I need to do that in order for it to show up under general education. So I'm going to do that. And the last thing I want to show you is how to write in a grade when you retook the course or when you got you got academic renewal. So when you retook a course, so say I failed this English the first time. Oh, I didn't put English in here. That's awkward. Make sure you look at all the little things. It won't let me submit if I don't do that. Any of these sections that have a little asterisk are required. So make sure they're all filled in. So let's say I failed English this first time. So I'm going to change this grade to an F. And now that means that it won't show up on my general education. It is a critical thinking class, so it is required for transfer. So when I enter in my next term that I took it, let's save it and get to the next term, and add the next semester. And I'm going to say that I took it in spring of 2005 when I was a sophomore, and it is a completed class. I'm going to go ahead and add it in, and I'm going to type in the same thing, ENGL 4, and that's the course I took, critical thinking. Let's all remember to put in the subject this time. And then over here in the grade, now, because I got the F beforehand, I'm going to put in the grade I got this time, which was an A. Yay. And then I'm going to click off into white space. So in order to have it directly replace that F and not have the F be calculated into your grade, see how right here the F is calculated into your CAS grade, which is your transfer GPA, you're actually going to need to edit this and put that you repeated the course. Okay, so I'm going to save this section, and then I'm going to go back up here and edit it and put RP, repeat. Now, the reason that I showed you this example to show you that it says none, instead of just putting RP the first time, is that I wanted to show you that the F would be included in your transfer GPA if you don't put RP for repeat. The same is true for academic renewal. If you take a class that you got academic renewal for, you're going to want to put AR, academic renewal, just like RP. So the only grades that you should put other than like a pass grade or a letter grade like A, B, C, D, E, F is you might put a W if they appear on your transcript, or an RP for a repeated class, or an AR for an academic renewal class. Okay, let's save this. So the good thing is that F is now replaced completely by this A. And now that I have entered all of my Golden 4 classes, I'll want to continue on with all of my transcripts. You want all of your transcripts in here. Like I said, this is the part that takes the longest. So just give yourself some time, start it and stop it a couple times, and really just give yourself like a couple of days to work through this. Now you'll notice there's no green check mark, but let's pretend I've put in all 2 years of my transfer information here. So in order to finalize the section, I'm actually going to click back into the main part of the section over here off to the left. And you can calculate your transfer GPA if you want to see it. But I'm going to scroll down and say, yes, I've completed entering my transcript. And then I'm going to save that transcript. Yay. Okay. So now I've gotten the green mark. I've gotten this. The college coursework is completed. On to the next section. Again, you'll breathe a sigh of relief after that section, since that is the most demanding section you're going to come across. So let's continue to the next section. Okay, so standardized tests. As a transfer student, no standardized tests are required. So you're not necessarily putting in any of these things. However, if you have them, you're more than welcome to add them because you do get credit for them. So you can click, I'm not adding any standardized tests right here if you don't have any to add. Because I added in an AP course in my college coursework section to get credit for the B4 math requirement, I'm going to go ahead and add that test score here. So the AP exam was calculus. I said I took BC. I'm going to add that. Yes, I took the exam. So if I remember my AP ID, I can put that here, but notice it's not required. And the test exam date, it will be the date, the exact exam information will be available in your College Board, which you have access to. So you can always reach out to them if you're not sure what your login is. So I took it back in high school. So we're going to go all the way back to 2004. All the scrolling kind of dates me a little bit. I just want you to know it's not very nice. So let's keep going. There has to be a better way, a faster way to put this in. But for right now, we'll just scroll. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. So I took it in 2004 and I took it in March. So March 10th, 2004, there we go. Okay. And then my AP exam score was a 4. So I get credit for that. Now you can save and add another one if you'd like. I'm just gonna go ahead and save it. Okay, great. You'll notice that that green check mark popped up here, but that you don't get a thing saying, let's continue next section, because you can always add different tests here. If you want to edit, little pencil button. If you want to delete, little garbage can. Okay, now let's go to the last section, our general ed section. This is the section that verifies that you have the Golden 4 specific classes that are required for an upper division transfer for all CSU. You'll notice that a bunch of them have already been pre-filled in. And that's because I entered those courses correctly from a school that was verified by choosing from the drop-down menu. The one that didn't fill in is that B4, and that's because I'm using the AP course to fill it in, and I had to hand type that in. So of course it wouldn't recognize that in the system. So we're actually going to select it ourselves. So we'll click this down. Now, when you enter all of your transcripts in, they will all be here. So all the classes will be here. You'll be able to find them. But since I only entered 4 classes, it's easy to find right here, AP Test Calc. Click that. Great. Now, if you are applying as a exception, and so you're missing a requirement, or you're applying as a lower division transfer, and so you don't have all these, you can always just opt out of that requirement. Know that for an upper division transfer, you need to have all of them unless you have a pre-approved exception. Let's save and continue. All right, so you'll notice it has our little pop-up. You can see the section. If you go continue to the next section, it'll take you to the next big quadrant. But you'll notice off to the side that these are all filled in. So we're going to go to dashboard. And yay, nice green seal of approval, meaning that we've completed everything. So again, if you're stuck at all, please reach out to us. We're here to help you Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, csueastbay.edu/visit. You can chat with us live during business hours or leave a message for us after hours when we get back to you. And I hope this was helpful. Have a great day.
EOP, Educational Opportunity Program. The primary goal of the CSU Educational Opportunity Program is to improve access of low-income, first-generation, and historically disadvantaged students from California with potential for academic success by making higher education a possibility. Visit the EOP admission site to learn more about EOP, eligibility criteria, and to view EOP application deadlines. Select Yes to apply to EOP. Your EOP application is not considered complete until you have completed the 3 EOP sections, as well as provide 2 recommenders. Visit the Applicant's Help Center for more information. You can edit this section after you submit your application. Indicates required field. Complete the EOP information. Do you wish to apply to the Educational Opportunity Program? Previously attended CSU? Have you participated in any of the following educational programs? Family information below. During the past 10 years, have you or your family received an income from a public assistance program such as CalWorks, CalFresh, etc.? Reply to all questions. Important reminder, applicants may complete and submit their Cal State Apply application and then later return to complete the EOP portion of the application. To ensure that you submit your EOP application on time, please refer to the campus-specific information here. Save and continue.
EOP parent guardian information and finance status. Enter information about your parent and or guardians and financial status. Visit the Applicant Help Center for more information. You can edit this section after you submit your application. Continue. Have you completed questions in the Educational Opportunity Program page, and are you ready to continue with your EOP application? No. Selecting no after you save responses on this page will result in a loss of your saved responses. If you are submitting yes, include parent guardian information. For example, dad, mom, or the name of a guardian. What is their occupation? For example, business owner. Do you have information to report on a second parent or guardian? Financial status. The following information is used to determine history of low-income eligibility for EOP, and all applicants must complete this section. EOP applicants must submit the free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, or, if applicable, the California DREAM application. Applicants must submit financial assistance applications to be considered for EOP. Parental income information is required for all students, including those who are considered independent for financial purposes. Incomplete applications may not be considered. Total income equal adjusted gross income plus untaxed income. EOP may request other forms of documentation to verify self-reported income. Examples: parent guardian number 1 income, parent guardian number 1 income for 2019, etc. Parent guardian 2 as well. Total household size, for example, 6. Are you independent of parental support? Example, yes or no. Make sure to complete the free application for federal student aid or California DREAM Act application. Save and continue.
EOP biographical questions. Answer the following 5 autobiographical questions. Visit the Applicant Help Center for more information. You can edit this session after you submit your application. Please indicate the required fields. Continue EOP application. Have you completed the questions on the Educational Opportunity Program EOP page? And are you ready to continue with your EOP application? Note, selecting no after you have saved responses on this page will result in the loss of your saved responses.
EOP recommendations. Recommendations are required for EOP applicants only. EOP requires 2 recommendations. 1 recommendation must be from an academic counselor, teacher that can comment on your academic preparedness for university academic work. The second recommendation can be from an individual who can comment about your potential to succeed in college. For example, a counselor, a teacher, a community member, or employer. Family member recommendations are not accepted. Provide at least 2 weeks for your recommender to complete the recommendation. In the deadline date below, enter a date at least 2 weeks from today. It is the applicant's responsibility to ensure that 2 recommendations are submitted by recommenders by the deadline. To verify recommender status, click on the Check Status tab on this page above. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Program materials. In this quadrant, you will find your major, your campus that you're applying to, as well as deadline dates. If you are applying to nursing, you will be receiving additional information in this area. All other majors will just have the campus, the deadline date, and the term. Now that all your quadrants are complete, it's time to submit your application. First, you're going to want to check to see if you qualify for a fee waiver. So you're going to click on Check My Fee Waiver Status. If you do receive a fee waiver, you actually have 4 fee waivers available to you. Next, you're going to hit the Submit button. You can submit all applications at the same time, or you can submit each individual application. If you do have a fee waiver, this is your last step. If you did not receive a fee waiver, you will need to provide your payment information, and you will need to pay $70 at each campus. Thank you. Remember to monitor your emails and mail for any information regarding your application, including documents needed, your next steps, and deadlines. Thank you.